Hi, today we are going to make DIY succulent planters. This is a great beginner project because it requires just very basic woodworking. The holiday season is upon us and these succulent planters could be a very nice Christmas gift. We are going to make them out of this piece of hardwood, this is oak, as well as some plywood scraps. I got the idea from Industrial Maker, so link to his video is in the description and we can start making. Alright, we are going to start with preparing the plywood. We are just gonna take some wood glue and glue these pieces together so that we have nice block to work with. While we wait for the glue to dry, we can just work on our piece of oak. I'm just going to cut bevels along it because it's much easier to do it this way before we separate the pieces. So we've got the fence set to 5 degrees, so we can now cut our individual planters. By now the glue should be dry, so we can just take the clamps out and clean it up on the saw. Now we can mark the centers and drill the holes for the plant pots. So I'm using 50mm Forstner bit to drill the holes for the plant pots, and if you are using this kind of bit you definitely want to secure your work somehow. So I don't have a vise, so I at least use this piece of scrap to clamp it down to the table to keep this piece from spinning. The best way to do this would be to put this in the vise or to clamp this directly down, but I can't really do it here, but this should be good enough. Right, so we can now sand these parts. I've got this disc sander, so I'm going to sand it with that, and then I'm probably going to finish it with the random orbit sander with like 180 grit, but I'm gonna do the rough sanding here. I'm gonna clean up those faces as well as to make some other facets on it to make it look a bit more interesting. If you're working with the disc sander like that, just be careful because stuff can fly out and hit you in the head. We are just gonna get rid of the saw marks that are left there. Let's make these facets now. At last it's time to smooth over all of the edges nicely, and for that I'm gonna use a piece of 600 grit sandpaper just to give it this really light sanding and just knock over these edges tiny bit so that it's nice and pleasant to handle. Alright, it is that time. We've got all of our pieces nicely sanded, nice and smooth to the touch. So it's time to apply the finish. You can use varnish, you can maybe paint some sides to make it a bit more colorful and then use a varnish. Or what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put some oil on them. This is just random oil for work surfaces. It should protect it nicely, bring out the natural colors of the wood and make it look really nice. I'm probably gonna even try with some of them, like burning the tops a little bit to make it a bit more interesting, so that we are going to have some dark color on the top and the natural wood around. Alright, we've got all the plant pots 3D printed. I've made them out of PLA because that's what I have on hand, but PETG would probably be the best material for it. I printed it at 225 degrees C so that the plastic melts a little bit more and we make sure that this is nicely watertight. And that's why it left these nasty marks around there, because the temperature of the PLA was just too high. But this is not gonna be visible anyway, so I'm not too worried about it. And I've already did a little test. I poured water in one of these and it stays in there, so it's gonna work great. And you don't really have to water the succulents too much anyway, so it should be alright. And I don't think these will degrade anytime soon. I think they will work quite nicely for a long time. There we go, 5 Christmas gifts ready for Santa to pick them up. I 3D printed the plant pots, but if you don't have an access to a 3D printer, you can always get some stainless steel shot glasses on Amazon and use that. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm gonna see you next time. Bye!